6 of In Between the Sticks podcast. My name is Austin. I'm joined today with Kale, Drew, and JP, as this is the official 7-round mock draft of the In Between the Sticks podcast. We cover a little bit about Devontae Smith as well and DeForest Buckner, but this episode solely focuses on the NFL draft that is exactly 10 days away. If you enjoyed the video, leave a like, subscribe, and comment down below who you think the Titans should take in this year's NFL draft. Thank you for tuning in. Hope to see you next time. All right, and the first thing we're going to talk about here is Mr. Devontae Smith re-signing with the Eagles. What was it, Kel? 3-year, $75 million contract?
I think it was 50 or 51, something like that, guaranteed. So getting similar money to AJ, I think, is what we were just talking about. It's a lot of money on your receivers, but it's a lot of talent on the outside. I think the one thing with Devontae is his body type, and so people are always worried about injury and stuff like that. But I mean, he has shown to be really productive. So, I mean, it makes sense. I'm not surprised, but it is a lot of money. So we'll see what happens.
My question is, do you think that he should be getting paid the exact same value that AJ Brown is getting paid? Because to me, I don't see how it's even possible compared to the years that AJ Brown has had.
Yeah.
I kind of look at Devontae Smith as not as like a similar situation as Corey Davis, but a little bit similar just because Devontae Smith was in Philly for 2 years before AJ Brown got there, and he wasn't like he was productive, but he wasn't like nothing like he is now. Like he kind of needed that star guy in front of him to like take the pressure off of him before he started like really kicking into high gear. I mean, I think that's an overpay for a wide receiver too. That's not even the best receiver on your team or a top 15 receiver in the league. So
yeah, it almost does seem just a tad high, just because it's like in my opinion, you have a clear number one in AJ. So it's like, why are you going to pay your number two guy the same amount of money when you could, I don't know, maybe he was he a free agent, or did they just extend?
I think they extended him.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I mean, I don't know what their money looks like in the future, but it does seem like a lot. So I don't know exactly, but we know he's productive. I probably disagree with the numbers a little bit. Like if I was an Eagles fan, I don't know that I'd be overjoyed that we spent that much, but I mean, he's a good player. So we'll see what happens. And I think a lot of his production has been on and off due to like their offense being kind of weird in the last couple of years. Like they look like they have all this talent, but they haven't been as good as they should have been. So it's an interesting signing. It's not surprising, but it's a lot of money. So
did they re-sign Jalen Hurts yet? Like, did they extend Jalen?
Yeah,
they did that
for a while.
Yeah, I think that might have been before last season. What were you saying, Jared?
You almost worry, though, like if AJ Brown goes down, it's going to prove that they kind of overpaid, because that's the power of AJ Brown, right?
Yeah.
He takes like a super casual guy and makes him into a wide receiver too. Not saying that Devontae Smith is casual, but like Nick Westbrook-Akine has a career year playing the number 2 role with AJ as his number 1. You know, like it's just kind of the nature of the beast with AJ.
Those are dark times.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Honestly, I couldn't even tell you who their wide receiver 3 is. I don't even know who it is.
Yeah,
I mean, Julio Jones.
It was Quez. It was Quez, but isn't he gone? Quez Watkins. I can't remember, to be honest with you. I think he was a free agent this offseason. So
that just tells you they don't have a lot of depth at that wide receiver spot.
Yeah. Statistically, their third receiver is probably Dallas Goedert or a running back. So
yeah, maybe Saquon Barkley now.
Saquon Barkley, yeah.
I mean, their offense is stacked.
Yeah.
I mean,
we know they want to run.
Yeah. You just kind of have to
and they got rid of their offensive coordinator,
Brown.
right?
Yes.
Did they?
No, it was defensive coordinator.
Oh, I think it was both.
Oh, maybe it was. Maybe they cleaned up.
I know for sure it was the defensive coordinator. They got rid of him. Maybe they did. Who knows? But there's another also re-signing today as well. We were just talking about it. DeForest Buckner over there with the Indianapolis Colts on a 2-year. I think it was like $40 million, something like that. I don't remember the exact numbers of the contract, but
Yeah, 46 mil.
yeah, he's been a top interior defensive tackle for years now. I mean,
Yeah. He's given us a lot of crap.
Definitely.
He's a good run stuffer.
Yeah, he's gonna stay healthy. He's been kind of injury prone the past couple of years.
Yeah.
Which is good for us, but
Yeah.
obviously if you're a Colts fan, you want to get that situated, especially along with Anthony Richardson.
They don't
Yeah.
want to have another Shaq Leonard situation on their hands where they have this all-pro defender that just like injuries completely derail their career. Kind
And
of
he
out
was
of
so
nowhere
good.
too.
he was a beast, man.
Yeah.
What, he had that back surgery? Didn't he have back surgery, or like he injured
Back
his
and neck.
Yeah, oh, his back and neck. That's what it was. Because that's why they traded him. The Eagles really took a gamble last year, picking him up after that injury, and he just clearly wasn't the same player. So
Oh, I don't hardly remember hearing his name after they picked him up, just because he wasn't really producing much. And on top of the back and neck stuff, he also dealt with like on and off leg, ankle, like just couldn't ever stay on consistently. So, but man, when he was healthy, he was a problem. That was for sure. So
It's a hard
It
position
stinks.
to stay healthy at.
it is.
it truly is.
The Eagles were using the wonderful Zach Cunningham as his replacement for most of the year, I think.
Titans legend right there, Mr. 1 year
Titans
contract.
legend,
He's
Zach
just
Cunningham.
team hopping at this point.
Bro, like
Did he
I
resign?
always wondered what happened. What with Philly?
Did he resign with the
I don't think
Eagles?
so.
I know he was on a 1 year.
I don't know.
I can't remember if he re-signed or if he's just a free agent now.
Taking
I
those
don't know, but
mercenary deals.
I remember being excited about getting him because he was like the one guy back at Vanderbilt that was like, oh dang, like this dude's actually good. Like, because Vanderbilt never
Yeah.
has anybody that you're just like, they're worth playing it. But then he went to the Texans and bro was just a insane tackler. And then he came to us and he still tackled, but I don't know, it wasn't the same. It's like
No.
he should have been a lot better than what he was with us. But
A lot
I
of
don't know if
injuries.
that's scheme. I don't know if he just slowed down. Yeah, injuries too. So, man, we had some good, like, we were in way better position linebacker wise a few years ago, and it never did quite. One of my favorite ones we've had in recent years is David Long. I
Absolutely.
know he was a little bit injury prone, but man, I hated to let him go. And he had a good
Especially for the
season for
price.
Miami.
He went for
Yeah.
fairly cheap.
They
Yeah,
got him
and
at like less than $2 million a year. It was crazy.
And
Yeah,
look
it was
what like our
wild.
biggest hole on defense is. Like, it's just
Well, we
like,
let
okay,
him-
yeah, maybe he's injury prone, but golly, dude.
We let him and Jayon Brown go, and like they both
Jayon, yeah.
they were both playmakers for us. They were under the radar guys to the league, but to us, like who watched the games every week, they were playmakers.
Yep.
Like they just made plays.
Well, it was that 1-2 punch. Like Jayon was very good in coverage, and Jayon was pretty solid all around. But his thing was coverage. But then you have somebody like David Long. He just flies after the ball, and that allowed Rashaan Evans to do the same thing and get in between the run lanes. Of course, we don't like talking about him, but he occasionally had some good plays. But when you have guys like Jayon and David Long, you can allow for a little bit of freedom for guys like Rashaan until they miss tackles on Patrick Mahomes and give up Super Bowl rings. But
A lot of coaching staff arrogance to let those guys walk.
oh, for sure.
That's
I've
truly
said that
why
about Vrabel for years.
that's why the Titans roster is kind of in the predicament we're in. Is we just let all these amazing players, well, not, I say amazing, but really solid players for us just walk. Nate Davis, David Long, Jayon Brown, Jack Conklin, Dennis Kelly. He was like a top 10 right tackle in the league, and we just let him go for no reason. Just,
It's not amazing. It's contending team level players. Like we were a contending team. Yeah, we went 9-7, but we got hot and nobody wanted to play us. And then
Oh, yeah.
the Chiefs
Team with
the
all the
Chiefs knocked us
veterans.
off. But
Mhm.
yeah, oh yeah. So it just was like it kind of felt like Vrabel and them were like, oh, we're a team of veterans. We almost made it to the Super Bowl. It didn't work, and then they just let everybody go and like, well, let's restart. I kind of would have maybe opted for like the semi rebuild that people do nowadays, and it's like you keep some of your veterans that are producing, but then you also get younger in areas that you need it instead of just like I don't know, turning the whole page over. But anyway, we are where we are now, and I'm excited for this season. So.
Yep.
One thing I'll bring up before, Austin, you can go ahead before I bring this up because
Oh, no, you
going to
got it.
relay into our next topic.
You got it.
Did y'all see the? It was a couple weeks ago when it came out, but I was just now thinking of it. FanDuel released their way too early 2024 quarterback rankings for the whole league. Did you see where any of that stuff?
I did not, but it sounds intriguing.
Sounds like we're gonna be.
So
pissed.
they have, they have number 32 is Will Levis.
Oh, give me a break.
32?
Now, let me preface with this, okay? Number 32 is Will Levis. There is one, 4 quarterbacks that are listed above Will Levis that haven't even taken an NFL snap.
Yeah,
Four.
That
that's
is-
ridiculous.
And they're
I
all
hate when
they're
they
all
do that.
4 of the top 6 quarterbacks in this year's class. I mean, they have Bryce Young ranked above Will Levis at 31.
I just don't agree with that at all. Even with the decrepit offense last year, I mean, Bryce Young, Will Levis had a decrepit offense last year. You know,
Mhm.
he had probably the worst offensive line in football. You had DeAndre Hopkins and nobody else.
Mhm.
And he was still out there putting up at least some numbers. So
we were
yeah, that's-
competitive. We weren't getting necessarily blown out in games. I mean, we came back and beat Miami, who was, one of the better teams in the AFC last year.
him
Does
going
that
toe to toe
report-
with Pittsburgh
In
Mhm.
Pittsburgh.
also was like crazy game.
Yeah.
In Pittsburgh, which is a terrible place for opponents and rookie quarterbacks to play, and
Mhm.
made some of his best throws on the season in that game while not having very much
Mhm.
help, on top of an offensive coordinator that seemed like he really couldn't get anything going last year with the
Mhm.
talent that we had.
Yep.
And so,
and that's the game that Traylon went down too.
I was just
And
about to say
Traylon went down.
Traylon got hurt before halftime, right? Like,
TJ
Mhm.
Watt eating the left tackle's lunch, whoever it might have been when we were starting.
bro, freaking
Well, yeah, it
line up
was,
anybody on our team, and he was just eating
Pretty sure
his
it might have been
lunch.
Dillard or whatever, but that's
Mhm.
also where we subbed in Radence in that game
Mhm.
to go up against Watt, and Watt didn't do anything the rest of the game.
Yeah, he stopped him a few times one-on-one, which is surprising.
That is
Yep.
crazy.
I felt
But
like we
yeah,
really were
I saw
chip
those
blocking.
rankings the other day, and I thought that was kind of crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Is there any did they give a reason why? Like, I feel like most of
No,
those.
it just shows like the rankings of every QB. I mean, dude, you
Oh.
listen to the national media right now, and everybody but the Tennessee Titans is, saying that Will Levis is just not the proven guy yet and stuff like that, which is insane to me.
I will say, I think that they do have a little give or leeway in that area, only because he's a rookie and hasn't quite had the opportunity to show what he can do. So it's like, while on one hand it looks like, yeah, how do you rate him at 32? On the other hand, I don't think that his opportunity has been good enough to where they're just like, okay, let's move him up. So maybe get one more year under him, new coach. We'll see. I could see that changing, maybe going at least middle of the pack. I mean, hopefully he ends up blowing up. But what did
I mean,
it have? What did it have 1 through 10?
I can look it back up. But before I bring that up, I mean, this is the same dude that we're talking about that, had one of the best rookie debuts in NFL history ever.
Yeah.
And then 2 was setting records by, those back, like the Dolphins game. And I can't remember if it was the Pitt game or whatever, but he was like one of the only couple of quarterbacks ever to be down 2 touchdowns with 2 minutes left and tie the game back up and put it into overtime.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that happened like back-to-back weeks too. So like, I don't understand. But number 1, obviously, Patrick Mahomes. Number 2,
Shocker.
they put Josh Allen. Number 3, Lamar Jackson. Number 4, Joe Burrow. Number 5, C.J. Stroud. Number 6, Matthew Stafford. Number 7, Justin Herbert. Number 8, Jordan Love. Number 9, Dak
Oh my
Prescott. And
goodness.
10, Jalen Hurts. And they have
Bro.
Trevor Lawrence at 11.
I hear 4 guys in the top 10 that Levis could end up being better than. At
Oh,
least.
yeah.
I also hear guys in
really
the top
hate
10. that,
Stroud
like,
in 5.
ugh.
I hate that.
They have Caleb Williams at 12.
You said
Jordan
you
Love-
said what? Jared?
Stroud was at 5. CJ
I
Stroud was
missed
at
that,
5.
bro. Let me tell
Yeah.
you this too. If Joe Burrow didn't get hurt, he's 2 in my opinion.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
For
for
sure.
sure.
I think Josh Allen's 3.
Also, if that's going off pure talent and skill, how is Justin Herbert not even in the top 10? A healthy Justin Herbert is a top 5
He's
quarterback
number
in
7.
the league.
I said he's number 7.
Yeah, I was
Okay,
up to
my
say
bad.
he
That's
was
a
up
little bit
there.
better. That's a little bit better. I thought
Yeah.
he wasn't in the top 10. I was like, him healthy is a top 5 quarterback in the league, and it's not even close.
Mhm. I will say this based on Levis's rating though. I think he at least mentally and competitively seems like somebody that you don't want to get under the skin of. Like, I just
Oh
feel
no.
like he himself doesn't appear that he needs any added motivation. So all these people are just throwing gas on the fire. Like, I
Oh, yeah.
really think that he could come out just slinging the thing this year.
He was on a mission his rookie year just from sliding out of the top 10.
Yeah,
You know, I mean, you saw the reaction that he had when he was drafted and when he
bro
was at his
sat
home.
in the room, bro. He sat in the draft room and didn't get picked. Like, that's why you go, because you think you're going to get picked in the first round.
Well, and teams are telling you you're going to get picked in the top 10.
I know, bro.
And his
They let him
girlfriend
fall.
dumped him after the draft. Like, I mean, things were just going crazy for him.
People kind of lit her up about that too on
Yeah.
social
Yeah.
media.
And she lives in Nashville too.
Yeah, so I'm sure she saw all about it after that Falcons game too. So, and one thing I will say too, just about the Falcons, while we mentioned it, because or that game, is when he came in, it was really good statistically, but it, like, to me, the statistics were pretty average. Like, he had a couple of plays that, like, D-Hop made 2 of those plays for him.
I mean, he just
And
had
one
big
of them,
bang plays.
sure, like one of them could have been OPI. You know, it could have gone either way potentially on that first one. D-Hop saved him on the second one. It was behind his head, but he made a great play. But I will say, you saw some of the throws that, like, if he continues to grow, like there was a throw he went down the right sideline, opposite, like threw it across the field. He was on the left hash to snap the ball, and it dropped in Traylon's arms, and he dropped it. But I mean, like,
Mhm.
off his
We saw
back
a lot
foot,
of
2
that.
people in his face, over a one-on, it was ridiculous. And then the one to Akine in the was that was like fourth quarter or something like that. That was ridiculous, bro. If
That
he's making those throws
that
consistently,
crossbody 50-yard
my
bomb,
gosh.
flick of the
That
wrist.
that
I'll
was
say it every
also
time.
across the entire field.
I
So it's
couldn't
just
believe
like
it because it was number
Oh,
15 actually catching
Number
a deep ball
15,
and catching it and
baby.
running.
in
Let's
stride, bro.
go. Number 15 making plays, baby. Come on.
Sorry, I still have
I'll
a
tell you
hard
what.
time even wanting to say his name, even after 5 years of him being a Titan.
When we re-signed him, it ruined everyone's day. If you were a Tennessee Titans fan and Nick Westbrook-Kenny got re-signed, it ruined your day. I'll tell
Certainly
you
ruined mine.
what I thought.
Mr. Running Molasses Akine.
Mr. Never Gets Open. That's what we call him. I think the most important thing about that Falcons game, though, is how the team, like, it was like watching truly an army rally around its, like, captain. Just the way that the whole team's, like, mentality changed. Like, Will Levis threw that touchdown to D-Hop, and you saw Jeffrey Simmons, like, he was about to kill a man on the sideline because he was getting so hyped and angry and, like, ready to go. Like, I mean, it gave that team something to play for.
I agree. Yeah, Big Jeff, he like stood up off he was like, that's freaking Will Levis, bro.
Yeah,
I was
mean,
like,
the
they've
whole
seen that
team-
competitive side of him in practice.
Yeah, I mean, the whole, like I've said it in episodes before this, but there's no way that this kid was not lighting up our practice field in practice and everything. So I feel like the team kind of knew what was up. I mean, you can, but it looks bad to bench your starting quarterback who you're paying $34 million
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
that
for sure.
year. But anyway, we
You
can
want
move
to talk
past
about
that.
overpaid, bro?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
Hey, I tell you,
but
one
all that to
quarterback-
say, I'm. Go ahead.
one quarterback real quick before we end that. But one quarterback I'm glad was not on that top 10 list, and this might be cold. This might be an ice cold take, but I'm so glad Brock Purdy was not on that top 10 list. I'm going to say it. I don't think he's a top 10 quarterback. When you're talking pure like skill
He was at
and
number
everything,
17.
like he's not a top 10
17, wow.
quarterback. Like he's not. He's I mean, I hate to use the term like talent made when you're talking about a quarterback, but like, man, he really just, I mean, with that team and that offense, yeah, I hope you're winning games. I could go win games at the San Francisco 49ers. Are you kidding?
Easy.
Yeah, no, that was a little over exaggeration there. Yeah, definitely better than Jimmy G.
I mean, I personally think he's top. I like Brock Purdy. I think he's top 15. A 17 is kind of wild to me, but we're never gonna agree completely with the ratings. But I do.
Where
think,
did he go to school? Iowa State, was that right?
Yeah.
Or Iowa?
No, it was
Mr.
Iowa State.
Irrelevant.
It was Iowa State. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, you gotta
So-
think like that's another guy that obviously was the last pick in the draft, but I mean, he really
Mhm.
wasn't facing that good of competition, and then he comes in
Yeah.
to win the
Mhm.
quarterback position for the 49ers. Like,
Yeah, I
that
mean,
jump
yes,
has to
he
be
definitely
insane.
made a jump because it's not like he was. I mean, nobody heard about him really in college. I mean, it's not like
Also,
he was
Trey
going
Lance.
crazy either against subpar teams. Yeah,
He took the job from Trey Lance.
Trey
Trey
Lance
Lance
is-
just fell off a cliff. Where's he even
Yeah.
at now? Is he even in the league anymore?
no kidding.
Cowboys.
Oh yeah,
He's
no, you're right.
irrelevant.
Oh, that's
dude.
right. Yeah,
Like wow,
Yeah,
he
he was
fell
on
off
the
a cliff.
Cowboys for their backup. He got picked up like halfway through the season.
He got beat out by Will Greer to be the backup, dude. Trey
Yeah.
Lance is irrelevant.
That is wild.
Sorry, Corn, if you're watching.
top five quarterback or top 5 player taken in his class, and he's just. I mean, he was
a
awful.
massive trade up to get him. Yeah, but
Yeah,
anyway.
huge trade up. Yeah, I mean, it was a big trade up. Yeah, that was a major miss. Major miss there.
Speaking of the draft, Austin, why don't you roll us into our next topic?
Yeah, so here we go, rolling into our next segment, our official in between the stakes 7-round mock draft. We each before the show decided to, use Pro Football Network. Shout out them; they do a great job updating the draft simulator every single day. They do a fantastic job. If you want to do one, check them out; they're fantastic. But we all did our own individual mock draft, 7 rounds before the draft. And I think we all took many different routes. I feel like we all kind of think, certain ways, and some of us are going more towards this way, some are going this way. So I think we got a lot of interesting minds here, and some interesting choices between the 4 of us. But so what we'll do here is we'll go 1 round at a time. I'll start, and then Kale will go after me, and then Drew and JP can go after that. And we'll kind of go pick by pick, say who we chose and like maybe why we chose them, and like maybe an interesting fact or something about them, like why just pretty much why you chose the person. So and my first round pick, Joe Alt was not on the board, unfortunately. Malik Neighbors was also not on the board, and also Olu Fashanu was not on the board. It was a very interesting first round for me, but it kind of worked out in my favor because I kind of wanted to switch things up a little bit and go with that man, Dallas freaking Turner, the best defensive player in this draft class. Okay, he is better than Will Anderson. I'm sorry, but when you watch that Alabama defense last year, nothing against Terrion Arnold, nothing against Kool-Aid McKinstry, but they didn't have to cover for too long because Dallas Turner was in the quarterback's face within 2 seconds every single play. I mean, you watch that Georgia SEC championship game, and Dallas Turner was a wrecking ball against amazing Georgia offensive line, but not just in the pass, but in the run as well. He's a freak athlete. He's a heck of a player, and he wants to win. He's a winner. He's got that winner mentality. He comes from a winning organization in Alabama. I think he was my pick, and I don't regret it one bit.
Did you pick him at 7, or did you do a trade back?
No, I picked him at 7. To me personally, that pick number 7 is not really a trade back spot, just because you can either get like one of the best tackle, or like potentially the best receiver, or the best defensive player. So I had to go with Neighbors and like Alt gone. I had to go Dallas Turner.
Yep. I've gotten to a point where I definitely understand that. I still think it's hard for me to get past going with an offensive player. But as somebody that would potentially be defensive minded, which in this case Callahan isn't, but who knows? Maybe Rand will be if the opportunity presents itself. I can understand that pick because you can't take anything away from Dallas Turner. I mean, he's a top 10 pick. I mean, he's very good. He's going to start immediately and make a difference. So I do like that, even though I didn't go that route myself. I also picked at 7. And to be honest, I kind of am surprised by myself making this pick. As unfortunately, again, Joe Alt was not there, which is making me really nervous because I'm noticing in a lot of these mock drafts, Joe Alt is going 5 or 6. And so I'm like, dang, man, like, especially as a Notre Dame fan, of course I want to see him on the Titans, but I also know how good he is and how big of a role that would be for us in protecting Levis and getting you'd have your whole line protected essentially on the left side and very young. But that being said, I also I didn't want Fashanu or what's the other guys? I don't even know, Falga or something like that.
Oh, Tyler.
I didn't want personally I don't want to settle for them. I feel like it's deep enough to potentially get some tackle help later. And so I didn't want to settle for something less than Joe Alt at tackle. So I actually went Brock Bowers at 7.
Ooh, okay.
Oh
Yeah,
man.
so I like this a lot, and I didn't go receiver. I think either Neighbors or Odunze was there. I can't remember exactly. And I passed it up only because I think you can always get some good value at receiver early in a draft. So we could look at next year. But you got to think we just got Calvin Ridley, and we also got D Hop still, and then we'll see what Traylon can do. So I think our depth is better than what it has been. And I really like the idea of Wiley being the third guy. I do like Wiley, but I think you would then have Brock and Chig out there together, and I think that would allow for everything to be more spread out. And I like the idea of Brock being that, like, yes, he can block, but Travis Kelce guy. I don't know. Like, that's, if you think about having 4 receivers out there, you got your 1A and 1B at Ridley and Hop, and then you have both Chig and Brock on the field. Like, that's scary to think about, on top of the fact that you have a double-headed snake now at the running back position. So I don't know, I really liked it, and I went tight end there. I think he's a generational talent at the tight end, so I went with Brock Bowers at 7.
What are your thoughts on that, Austin? I know you have a good opinion of Brock Bowers.
I mean, he's a player, obviously, like, we talk about that winning mentality. I mean, he won 2 back-to-back national championships at Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, if they made it into the playoffs this year, probably a three-peat.
Yeah. Take them orange-tinted glasses off. Does it hurt to say that a little bit?
Hey, I mean, game recognized game. He's a player. But, he's a great player. Do I think the tight end position is a hard position to take that high in the draft? Absolutely. I mean, you don't take a tight end typically within the top 10, but also, like, it is kind of crazy, and Brock Bowers, nothing against him, but if Malik Neighbors is there, I mean, he's absolutely the pick there. But he is a generational tight end, and he might be the greatest tight end of all time. Who knows?
Actually, come to think of it, now that you said that, I remembered. So Neighbors and Odunze and Harrison were gone, but it was because only 3 quarterbacks were taken in the top 6, and Daniels wasn't. And so that's why I didn't have that option. And so the best thing for me was Bowers, because I didn't want to settle for somebody less than Joe Alt.
Okay,
I've
that
also
makes
seen
more
there's
sense.
been a lot of talks where you can also potentially throw out Brock Bowers and convert him into a receiver. So he's got the build of a receiver. He can kind of do both. So it's one of those things you're like, do you want to try that, or you keep him at his natural position?
That's what I'm saying by Travis Kelce role too, because yes, Travis Kelce's he's a bona fide tight end, and I think that's what Bowers is too, because he is a very good blocker as well. But with Kelce, they put him out wide. They'll put him by the numbers. So, like, I definitely think you could do that with his skill set. I mean, he's just got great hands. He's a good route runner. He blocks well. He doesn't really do anything poorly.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I do understand that you don't see tight ends go that high. So,
yeah, JP, if you can go next if you want.
Yeah. So for my first round pick, I also chose to go offensive. So the Joe Alt went at 5 to the Chargers, and then Minnesota traded up to 6 and got JJ McCarthy. So I actually got in a really, really nice spot in the first where Malik Neighbors was available at 7. And to me, it was a no-brainer. With Joe Alt being gone, I'm not going to go fashion new with number 7. I don't want to trade back. Give me Malik Neighbors. Give me, like, what is considered one of, like, the top 5 prospects of the draft, honestly. That's how he's being talked about. So, yeah, bring him to the Titans and solidify our receiver room for years to come. I really liked that pick there.
Yeah,
I like
mean,
it.
You look
I don't
at
think
it.
you can argue with it.
Marvin Harrison Jr. and Neighbors 1A 1B. I mean, getting one of an amazing receiver at number 7 is kind of crazy.
And what else I liked about it was, like, if you have somebody like Neighbors, he can grow with Will Levis throughout their, like, rookie contracts. It's not like a veteran that is going to have to leave us or get cut because of money reasons.
Yep.
Like, they're developing at the same speed. Like, so I really like that too.
Not
Also
that pick at
takes
all.
pressure off Traylon. It takes more pressure off Traylon. So,
in a sense,
You expect
I
nothing
mean,
from him, yeah.
it might take production pressure off of him, but it does put pressure on him to, like, I got to show enough, because heck, I might not be a Titan soon. Like,
Yeah,
they got all these
Titan.
dudes.
He might not be a Titan on draft day. We don't
Yeah.
know.
Bro, I'm telling
people
you.
think he's going to get traded. People think he's going to get traded. it's potential.
But for what though? Like he's getting traded for a bag of peanuts.
This is all I'll
what's
say.
his value? That's a question.
This is
A
all
fifth
I'll say
rounder,
on this.
maybe.
I mentioned it earlier in the week to both you and Austin. In recent interviews that were done by Brian Rand and Nick Holtz, our new offensive coordinator, the reporters were asking him about Treylon and all that. What Brian said was that he was like, we got D-Hop, we got Ridley, obviously. He was like, we need somebody to establish themselves as the slot receiver, and he mentioned some people on our team. First name he mentioned, Kyle Phillips. Right, and he's like, he likes what he can do out of the slot. Obviously, has had the injury bug the past couple of years. Hoping that goes away. Number 2, which if this happens, then I don't even know what I'm gonna do. But he mentioned Mason Kinsey. Number 3, which I think he was just trying to run through everybody on our roster that could play the position. Yeah. So yeah, Kyle Phillips, Mason Kinsey, and then he said Nick Westbrook-Akine, that he played some slot, can run all the route tree, yada yada yada. But main factor. Brian Callahan did not mention Treylon Burks' name at all. And then they asked Nick Holtz about Treylon. And at first, it was Teron Davenport that asked him about him. And, when he got the answer asked to him, you can go and watch it. He kind of looks surprised and doesn't really know how to answer the question. And he's kind of like, he basically says, Treylon's potential is through the roof, all that kind of stuff. And then basically one key thing that they said that they're taking away from it is he said Treylon will get what he earns.
I saw that today.
So there's no guarantee that he is that number 3 guy, which I think will benefit him a lot more because A, like we said, he doesn't have the pressure on him to be the number 1 guy. And B, he can just go out there and play the slot like he did all throughout college, the way that we drafted him. So I think that'll work out. But for my picks, I came into this, I'll preface this way. I told it to Austin earlier. I'm coming into this trying to think in my head of what are the exact needs that we need for not only this year, but obviously to lock up some certain spots for the next couple of years. Now, obviously, I had that pick at 7, right? And like we've said multiple times, offensive tackle class is deep, receiver class is relatively deep, past, probably 1 through 10, maybe. And then also, you got the defensive side of the ball that we have massive holes that we got to fill. So the New York Jets came knocking on my door. And so they were offering to take the 7th pick from us in return for their number 10 pick. So I'm only sliding back 3 places. And they gave me a 3rd round pick in 72. And they gave me a 6th rounder in the next year's draft as well, just for that first pick. So I'm sitting there thinking, okay, we don't have a 3rd rounder this year. We don't have a 3rd rounder next year. We just traded away one of our 2 7th rounders this year. So I was like, we need all the draft capital we get. So I was like, and it's only 3 spots. So I'm gonna take that. So I took that trade. So now I'm picking a 10, and it worked out because the boy, Joe Alt, was there at number 10. So I took Joe Alt, have to lock up that left side of the blind side of that line like we've always been talking about, because we cannot worry about this dude's health like we have with Tannehill's, and we've seen how that played out. And to back Austin's point earlier, I said I will not be mad at whoever we take at 7. You can't mess up that pick. You can take Dallas Turner. You can take a receiver. Whoever we take, we better have a plan on how to fix that left tackle position if we don't go offensive tackle. And I know with what Bill has done in his career, what Brian is showing, and obviously what Rand has shown with him being here, I trust him. I'm just hoping that something is in the works if we don't take a tackle. But I took Joe Alt.
I mean, getting him at 10 is a steal.
Yeah,
absolute steal, bro.
Major steal. No way he drops that far. But if getting him anywhere in the first round is a steal. So
dream scenario right there, man.
Yep.
Trading back and then snagging Alt.
Yep. I mean, that would be. Oof.
Because you snagged a 3rd for this year too.
Yeah, I got the 10th pick that I picked Joe Alt at, and I got the 72, which is a 3rd rounder this year that we did not have coming into the year, and a 6th rounder the next year.
Please, bro. Please.
That's also
I'll take that every single day of the week.
What is that? You said 77?
Yeah,
What's
really
that
one?
72.
That's like 72. So that's wow. Yeah, no, that's high in the 2nd round. One of the first.
So that's
10
Joe
picks,
Alt.
obviously, but
that's Joe Alt at 10.
Yep.
A great pick. Potentially another great pick at 38, and then you pick up 72, you said?
Yep.
3 in the top 100.
And
Yeah, I like
this is
that.
another good fact about Joe Alt
Hey,
that I
exactly,
heard.
JP.
Luckily, I hate to say it, but I heard it on the Locked On podcast that he mentioned that Joe Alt will turn 21 during his rookie year. This dude is a young dude. So, like, we have a for sure decade-long left tackle if we could snag him.
Well,
Potentially even more.
he was
Yeah.
only a
With
3
Whitworth playing up until almost 40.
Lane Johnson too.
Just
How old's
say-
Lane Johnson? He's got to be ages now.
Yeah, he's getting up there.
Yep. Shout out
That's
Shout out Notre Dame.
baby.
They produce some great. They produce some great offensive linemen. Can't say much for every other position on the field, but they know how to produce some offensive linemen.
Especially QB.
Yeah. Hey,
Roll us
Sam
in that second
Hartman.
round, bro.
He's going to be great as a third string for some team, but so is Joe
I don't even want
Milton.
to hear
Hey,
about Sam
shout out.
Hartman.
Solid teammate, bro. Locker room guy.
Joe,
Hey.
hey,
One out.
I'll say this, man. Joe Milton was there in my 6th round.
Yeah. Hey, Joe Milton.
Hey.
That's,
And you left him sitting there.
Some team's going to take a gamble. Yeah. Some team's going to take a
Hey.
gamble because they all think they can fix him, and nobody can. It's nothing coachable.
Hey,
that
let
you
me
can
I can
just
fix
say-
with him.
playing wide receiver.
Let me just say, with Calvin, if we
Hey.
picked up Malik, like, hey, Calvin and neighbors down there somewhere, we know Joe Milton can throw it 400 yards. So just go routes, bro.
Yeah, he can. Yep. He can throw it 80 yards, but let's hope he keeps it within the sidelines. Okay, you might be catching it in the first row of the stands over here on the sideline, but hey, if he can get it there, okay.
The
But,
uncle from Napoleon
yes,
Dynamite.
Joe Alt is
Uncle Rico, bro. Uncle Rico.
Uncle Rico. Throw it over the mountains over here. I'm looking at, but yeah, no, I like all the picks we did. Like Drew said, you really can't miss with the first round there. You know, obviously they're favoring whoever they favor, but all 4 of those guys are amazing picks. So whoever they pick, I'm sure they're going to be amazing. But rolling into the second round here, obviously, you know, I went Dallas Turner in the first round due to some players not being there. But if you don't go left tackle in the first round, you have to go left tackle in the second round just because of the position of
Yeah.
need. Like Drew said, it's so big. You can't ignore the left tackle spot. And the left tackle spot right here, I'm taking Kingsley. I hope I say his name right. Samutuaya. I want to say that's right. But he's a left tackle at BYU. He is also really young. He's only 21 years old. And he just turned 21. He's 6'4.5", 6'5", roughly. And I had a choice between him and Jordan Morgan and Patrick Paul, but I felt like he was the better out of the two just because he's younger. He's a former 5-star recruit. He actually started his time at Oregon and then transferred to BYU. Gave up no sacks 2 years ago. Only gave up 2 sacks last year. He's fast. He had an amazing athletic grade. Talk about just an athlete for an offensive lineman. He's a stud. His pro player comp was Darnell Wright. Shout out the Tennessee boy coming out of last year's class going to Chicago. Dude's a playmaker. And he's athletic and he's big and he doesn't allow a lot of sacks, which is obviously a major upgrade at left tackle.
Like it. Pick up
I
our
do.
left tackle.
I I tell you, with my mock, I'm kind of leaning on the ability of Rand to find some value in the middle rounds. Because the way that my board fell, I did not go tackle in my first, second, or third pick of this mock.
Oh my!
So it's just gonna sound crazy.
Oh,
But
Lord.
again,
Hurting.
I want it to be different.
Jeez.
The board did not fall the way I wanted it to, tackle wise.
You didn't at least
and I
try
want-
another one?
And I want Bill Callahan. I want to see what Bill Callahan can do with some value. However, with my pick at 38, and this might be a hot take, but knowing the necessity of this position, I just went here based on the way the board fell because I didn't want Xavier Worthy and them were already gone as well, and plus already picking up Bowers. I just wanted to go defense here, so I actually went Peyton Wilson. NC State. There were some good notes on him. I've seen him play a little bit. He's both good in coverage and somebody that would potentially be a green dot. I don't know if he would be immediately, but he seems like he could be a captain of a defense. He's young, he's fast, and he's an attacking type player. But linebacker is a very big hole right now, and I like the value there. So went defense at 38. Nothing really noteworthy as far as trades go there, but thought that was a pretty good pickup. It's unfortunate that the tackle board didn't fall the way I wanted it to, but I still think we make out okay. But we might be hurting at left tackle.
Yeah.
Yeah, we might be rocking 2 Jalen Duncans over there next year, but you know what? Pat,
Bringing back Andre Dillard.
Yeah, Andre Dillard. We're gonna re-sign him, or Dennis Daly, wherever he's doing. Pick him up at
Give
the
Dennis
local
Daly a
Dollar
call.
General.
Yeah.
Yeah,
These are the Cardinals.
yeah. What? Who, you said Peyton Wilson, right? Is that his name?
Peyton
Yeah.
Wilson.
Yeah, yeah. He's. I mean, well, he went to NC State. I feel like the only question mark with him is can he stay healthy. I know he had some injuries. He's been injury ridden so far. If he can stay healthy, heck of a player. There's a reason he's the number one.
Yeah.
Ranked linebacker in the class. I mean, he's a stud, but he's got to stay healthy. So,
yeah, I really like it because he doesn't have a set this is what type of linebacker he is. No, he's just an all around baller on defense. He can do pretty much anything. It is just a matter of health. So
he really is.
For my second rounder, I ended up going with a tackle. There was really only one tackle on the board where I was picking that I felt comfortable taking with like that it wasn't a reach and that I liked, maybe plugging and playing. And that was Patrick Paul from Houston. I mean, I know he's got some downsides to his game, but it is somebody that's he's a 3-time first team all American guy. I don't know. Yeah, it's 2 first team all ACC, 1 first team all Big 12. I mean, that's an impressive resume for a 3-year starter. You're making those lists all 3 years in a row. I like that he chose to stay and finish and get his degree and complete his college career with Houston. So, I mean, a consistent left tackle that's mostly played on the left, a lot of experience. I don't know. I liked him starting for us, so I chose him with the second round.
Yeah, and I mean, the ACC has some good pass rushers,
massive.
so it's not like he has seen a lack of talent. Yeah, he's a big dude.
Yeah, he's 6'8".
So for
He's a big boy.
Oh, yeah, he's big. But for my second rounder, once again, I'm sitting here trying to think of what needs do we need on our team, right? We've talked about it. Austin has said it multiple times on current episodes that Arden Key just doesn't seem to be the guy that we thought he was going to be coming into the year last year. You remember our training camp? We talked about it multiple times. He was having 13 sacks or something like that. They were calling him Mr. Sackman.
Wonder why.
We didn't know if our O-line was trash or if he was that good, but we found out what that was. But anyway, so Harold Landry came off ACL injury last year. First half of the year, iffy, getting back into the swing of things. But the last half of the year really picked it up, had a solid last half of the year. I like him on that one edge. So I said, okay, who's the best available edge rusher that we got here at pick number 38? And I picked a guy that's rising through the ranks right now. Was a beast in the SEC. They're calling him, a more athletic Danico Autry for our team. And I took Darius Robinson from Missouri.
I like it.
I like it a lot.
Shout out JP,
Especially
big Missouri fan.
Tiger.
Yeah. Big Missouri fan, JP over here. He's a stud. He is Danico Autry-esque, I guess. He's a little bit bigger, a little bit faster, maybe. I think he's also better in the run game, too. He kind of played all spots. Missouri ran a 3-4, so he kind of could slide in and play the true D tackle spot, but also the edge spot. I mean, he is very movable as well.
Yeah, I like the versatility. Having versatility on the defensive line to pair up with the weapon that Big Jeff is, I just think makes your scheme and makes your stunts and the things that you can do with pass rush so much more broad. And again, switching up your looks up front is going to help you in the secondary tremendously. On top of the fact that we hopefully won't be needing near as much help in that secondary this year. So,
yeah. And it's like Austin said pre-show, he mentioned that, our coaching staff has kind of already hinted at the fact that they don't really want Arden Key to be the starter and that they want him to be more of a rotational piece guy like he was in Jacksonville, where he was so effective.
Yeah, and if you get Darius Robinson, it's not such a gimmicky starter like Arden Key, where he's such a one-trick beat you with speed pony. Darius Robinson is a guy that can shut down the run as well as rush the pass, and that's a guy that you can just keep on the field, which is definitely useful.
I know we're kind of backtracking here. I'm going to backtrack for a second. Back to JP's pick of Patrick Paul. Because one thing stands out to me about Patrick Paul. I didn't know that he, stayed and got his degree, which is really impressive and props to him. But also this world of NIL. He was one of the best tackles in college football last year, and probably had people banging his line over and over and over and over again, just throwing money at him to transfer. But he stayed true to Houston, who isn't some amazing contender every single year. But he stayed there, like you said, Kel, in a massive division. And I think he only gave up 1 sack all year last year, playing like great talent. But he stayed true to a team that took a chance on him. And that is what I like about players. I like players that didn't bounce around to 5 different schools, while they were in college or high school. Like they went to a school and they stuck with it, and they made the best of their situation and got better every single year. And that is what Patrick Paul does. Like, he's not somebody that's just going to give up on a team. Like, whoever he goes to is getting a steal. They're getting somebody that actually cares about, the team that he's going to. So
it's almost like the same mindset Calvin Ridley has.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly. But that was a great pick, JP. I want to go back to that because I feel like we kind of went over it really quick. But we obviously don't have a 3rd round pick, unfortunately. I say unfortunately, we got Will Levis out of it, but
I do, brother.
Drew does.
Yeah, but Drew has a 3rd round pick. I don't have a 3rd round pick.
You want me to run on my 3rd?
Oh yeah. You have a 3rd rounder. Go ahead and say your 3rd rounder.
Okay. So for my 3rd rounder, I used this pick. This is a guy that I knew would slide down.
And that was 72, right?
This is pick number 72. This is a guy that I knew would slide, or I knew. Sorry about that grammar. Anyway, would be there because of off the field problems that happened recently. Got a DWI. But
oh yeah,
everybody makes mistakes, right? And
everybody has those days.
Exactly. You would rather have this guy. You would rather have this guy make this mistake right now. That way you can iron out if he does have problems and it be taken care of. That way you don't want this problem happening, in year 1, year 2, year 3, whatever. So you'd rather have
Todd Downing.
Yes, Todd Downing. Anyway, so the person I took was defensive tackle T'Vondre Sweat from Texas. This kid, like I said, off the field problems recently, probably is going to make him slide a little bit down in the draft depending on the team. But we're talking about a guy, right, that is 6'4.5" and 366 pounds.
Bro's built like a house.
This is Tierre Tart, aka Pop Tart,
better
2.0 on steroids. This you pair him next to Jeff on early downs.
Scary hours.
You can't run up the middle. It's not happening.
And also more pass rush upside than Tierre Tart.
True.
Yeah,
because I was so an awesome pre-show. We get T'Vondre Sweat. He's out there. Say you're passing the ball, right? You got Simmons and Sweat. I almost want to call him Pop Tart 2.0, but I can't do that. That's disrespectful. But you have Sweat beside him. You can't double him because then you're allowing Sweat or Jeff to go one-on-one, and that guard or that center will be laying on his butt right beside the QB's ankles because they're just going to overpower you. So I really like that pick. It solidifies the position that we really need to lock up since we did let Pop-Tart go last season. And to be honest, we don't really have another one other than Sebastian Day that I was talking about Austin earlier. Yeah. This is a guy that Denard Wilson said can line up and play every single position on that defensive line. So we do have him, but it's not like we can't line him up there every single down. So I would really love that Sweat pick at 3rd round.
Yep. One thing about T'Vondre Sweat, if you have not watched the Senior Bowl highlights, so obviously before the game they do the one-on-one drills where D tackles are going against his offensive guards and centers, because he's a D tackle. And you watch every snap that he took, he was unblockable one-on-one. Like, we're talking one of the best centers in this class, Bo Lemer, who is a center from Arkansas, all SEC type player, and he's getting put on his back. Literally, every single, he tried to block him 3 times, and it looked like he was breaking his back out there. He was getting bent in half. It was insane to watch. It's crazy. I'm not even kidding. If you haven't watched it, go watch the video because you will see how truly dominant T'Vondre Sweat is. And he moves quick. He's not slow.
And this is also another thing on his physicals. He has 33 1/4 inch arms. Also, to pair with that, 10-inch hands. Those are some paws. If those get on you, it's over. If those are in between your chest, you're done for.
I'll tell you what, when we're talking about Jeff and we're talking about T'Vondre Sweat, like you're talking about two guys on your team that force, like, I don't know, you can't double two guys.
Exactly.
So one of them is one-on-one. And so you're talking about two guys in the league that can have a quarterback sack without touching the quarterback themselves. Because I saw it last year 2 or 3 times where Jeff literally just shoved the offensive lineman and knocked the freaking quarterback over like dominoes. Like he's just bully ball. Like having 2 of those, absolute game wrecker. So hopefully he can figure his crap out off the field and let that be a one and done, because Lord knows we don't need another Isaiah Wilson crap in here. But I do like that pick a lot if he can figure out his off the field stuff.
Well, also with your doubling thing as well, you double one of them, that automatically leaves your edge rushers on a 1v1 too.
They're free.
So that's just another
somebody
factor
can win the
to
one-on-ones. Harold Landry or someone's got to step up this year to kind of win more
for sure
consistently on the edge. You know, I feel like that's something we've not necessarily like I'm not gonna say struggled with, but like, you know, they got to get more consistent. Like, you know, when you're getting the one-on-ones, you got to win just a little bit more on the outside.
Well, I think it's like Drew said though. He had to get back in the swing of it. I mean, he had to get there.
ACL.
So I'm hoping that
with too.
Yeah, and I'm hoping that at the beginning of the season he could just have a much more like mid-season form type beginning to his year. So we'll see what happens. But I guess that'll take us to the
fourth round.
Did you see where they also released what actually happened with Stonehouse's injury? Like they actually released what he actually injured.
I didn't see. Something about ACL and MCL, and so he's not going to be back for the beginning of the year, which I didn't know.
Well, they said he completely tore his ACL and his MCL and fractured his
broke his leg.
Yeah, his leg.
Can we go back, because I don't know that they called a flag on that play? Did they?
They didn't.
Did not.
It's like,
but
anyway,
you couldn't throw a flag. He blocked it.
Oh, was that? Oh, that was a block. I forgot about that.
He just
it was
came
a
down
clean
on it wrong.
block.
But they said that you know the NFL average for ACL comebacks is 9 months, which his 9-month mark would be September. So yeah,
he's gonna miss.
The fact that, well, they also said that, you know, it's his plant leg that he did it to. So that's a whole nother factor of him getting back in the swing of things. But the punter that we did sign last year to replace him was on a 2-year, so at least have somebody to cover.
And hopefully we're not punting because we're scoring touchdowns. So but we'll move into the fourth round here. I'll go a little bit faster here than I did last time. Fourth round, you know, I was really hoping to take wide receiver here. I have that down in my notes. You know, I was trying to take someone like Javon Baker or someone like that we've been kind of, you know, I've been looking after for a while. But I ended up going with McKinley Jackson. He's a defensive tackle out of Texas A&M. Actually had a top 30 visit with the Titans. I think it was last week or 2 weeks ago. So there's clearly some interest there within the guy. Just some notes about him. He's 6'2.5", 326 pounds. He was a 2-time team captain at Texas A&M. Kind of played, you know, kind of like Darius Robinson, multiple different spots on the D-line, but he played a lot of nose tackle. The quick notes on the overview was he was quick and explosive off the ball. And yeah, I mean, he's a run stopper, nose tackle basically, who you can move around a little bit like Joseph Day. You know, you can kind of rotate him here and there every now and then. But I think that top 30 visit kind of shows that there is some interest with him. And again, a 2-time captain, you know, I mean, at Texas A&M, which is a big time SEC school, like, you know, dude's a winner, dude wants to win, and dude knows how to lead a team. You know, this is somebody, you know, a rookie that could come in and instantly be a leader on a team. So that's who I picked. So yeah.
No trade back or anything? What was that, 108?
Nah, I really didn't want to trade back there just because, like, you know, when I was doing the draft, T'Vondre Sweat was still there, but I wanted to try to be realistic. He's not falling to the 4th round. You know, I could have taken him and just said, oh, yeah, you know, T'Vondre Sweat, 4th round, but that wouldn't have been realistic. But it was kind of between him, Dwayne Carter, and Jalen Ford out of Texas. I really like Jalen Ford as well. He's a stud. I just think McKinley's better than Dwayne Carter. He's got more size and stuff, and I think it would fit better with Simmons. So that's why I ended up going him.
Okay. I got you. I like it. And yeah, I think Dwayne Carter was also on the list. around this area, and Jalen Ford, which he's linebacker too. So I had Peyton Wilson, so that's why I went where I did here. And I'm actually going to disagree with you just a little bit on your last point, because I do think that is becoming so important in the NFL to maintain your reputation off the field, that I do think it's possible. And actually, with my pick at 108, T'Vondre Sweat fell all the way to 108, and I did take him. And I do think off the field issues can make you drop that far. I really do. So now here's the deal. That is something to where, like, you're kind of putting yourself in a sticky situation as an organization if you pick him up with the intention that he's not going to have any issues, and then he does then have issues, because it's like, you can't just, it's not one of those things. I mean, you could maybe look for a trade, but you can't do a ton with somebody if you say, okay, well, you have to agree to behave. If he doesn't behave, we'll just kick you to the curb. You can't really do that with somebody of his caliber. And like, I don't know. So I think there has to be a very serious connotation and a very serious conversation about, look, you gotta, that has to be the only thing that happens off the field. Leave that in the past, move on. We need you to be the player that plays next to Jeff Simmons. And so, anyway, putting his past aside, I'm kind of looking forward and giving this kid the benefit of the doubt. And I really like the value. I mean, that's impeccable value at 108. That may be less likely, but I couldn't pass that up with where that was in the draft. So
if he's there, you take him, but it just depends on if he actually falls that far.
I agree that he probably shouldn't, but I'm also not saying that he won't, because I do think off the field stuff can cause that.
It's actually funny enough. So for my 4th round pick, he was also there for me. I kind of picked him because it was just like, he was like clearly the best player there. And I was just like, kind of getting out of the realm of my knowledge towards that 4th round like area. So yeah, I picked him, but yeah, not really the most like realistic pick in the world, but if he's there, obviously that's a huge help to the trenches, but we'll see what we end up doing there with
I'm definitely not going to rule out the possibility of it because of the issues, but again, like we all have said, I think it's not very likely. But I mean, in a case like Drew's, it worked out pretty well. So I mean, as far as that goes, that's something that would potentially be more realistic.
Well, to also back it up too, that they asked Brian Callahan, our head coach, in his presser, with these top 30 visits, what exactly are we, asking them about? Are we trying to learn about them as a player, as a person, all this, this, that, and the third? And Brian said, pretty much they've seen the tape, right? Like they know who these guys are as players, that they're trying to bring these guys in to see if they fit as personalities in. Because, we've talked about it. Every coach, every free agent that we have signed has all come in saying that this is a new energy that they're feeling in the building. It's a different culture. It's a different feeling. They just wanted to find people that match that. And that might be one of those cases where you don't take a guy that you think you should take, not because he's a bad player. He's probably the better player.
Yeah.
But you're going to take somebody because they fit your team and your culture better. But anyway,
I agree.
So with my 4th pick, once again, back on my filling the needs of the Tennessee Titans rant that I was going on. Second to offensive tackle, I think it has to be linebacker. So, because right now we have Kenneth Murray and we got Jack Gibbons, and that is not going to cut it. As much as a Gibby fan that I am, it's just, I bet bro's a beast in high school, but I don't think he's going to cut it on the NFL field. So one linebacker that I really like and that I really wish that we could get, which I didn't take him here because he wasn't here on my board, but is Edgerrin Cooper from Texas A&M. That dude flies around the field. I call it all the time. I said he looks like an Aziz, 2.0. He's a thumper. He just headhunts dudes. But the guy that was here that I took has already been mentioned. I could pair him up with his Texas mate T'Vondre Sweat. I took Jalen Ford for our linebacker position in the 4th round.
I like Ford a lot.
Yep. Yep. His pro. I mean, just to tell you what type of player he is. I mean, his pro player composition or pro player comparison is Jayon Brown, former Titan. So
Yeah, I mean, he had his best year was last year where he had 62 solo tackles, and then last year he had 47, which is a little bit of a drop off. But at the same time, you have guys up front like Sweck and Byron Murphy, there to plug these holes up. So I think he's still going to be really good. He's pretty much averaging about a sack or two a year and about 2 interceptions too. So he's getting it done all over the field.
I like that pass coverage ability. Yeah, that's nice.
Yeah,
I think
if anyone can play like Jayon Brown, like next to Kenneth Murray, that's a win. So
yeah, I think it's up to y'all too. But since these are a little bit, we won't have as much to say about these last few picks here. I think we could potentially go like Austin could do 146 and 167, hit both at the same time, and we can go each do 2 if you want. I mean,
I got 4 picks left.
Okay.
So.
Yeah,
I like
so do
that.
I.
Yeah,
So we can go ahead and just do 2 each, and then that'll speed us up just a little bit.
and we'll be quick. Yeah, we'll be quick with them. So like Drew said, linebacker's a huge position of need as well. So in round 5, I actually went linebacker. I was hoping someone like Ford would be there, but he was not. So I actually went Curtis Jacobs. He's a linebacker from Penn State. My keynotes on him real quick. He was 6'1", 241 pounds, ran a 4.5 40-yard dash. His keynotes from the combine is he's an explosive athlete, 3-year starter at Penn State, and he's a run support specialist. And he's ranked as the number 8 linebacker coming out of the combine. So huge value there in the 5th round. Heck of a player to line next to Kenneth Murray. And then round 6, I actually am double dipping here. At the tackle position, I went Christian Jones, right tackle from Texas. He's a 4-year starter at Texas. He actually played left tackle and right tackle. And he is an amazing run blocker, and his feet work is what needs some help a little bit. He needs to kind of develop more with his feet work. That's what the combine overview said. So I mean, just kind of another body to throw in there to potentially start at right tackle. So
sorry, Tannehill's in here tearing up papers. Tannehill being our cat, for those of you that are watching. You're probably sitting there saying Tannehill, but JP named his cat after the infamous Tennessee Titan legend Ryan Tannehill.
Goat.
So
the cat, not
I went, based on my first few picks, I did finally have to go tackle, and with these next 2, I did go tackle back to back. And I had been watching some of the tape that I've seen on this guy that is coming out of Pittsburgh. Matt, I think it's Gonsalves. I don't really know how to say it. But picked him at 146 at tackle, and then at 167, I also went with Christian Jones. I think both of those are very good value picks, and that's kind of what you're looking for. Like if you're gonna go tackle in later rounds, you're picking guys that look like they have the best value and guys that show an intelligence, because I think that's where you're going to see the growth. Like, yes, you need to see the athletic ability, but the intelligence is what you need to see with a coach like Bill Callahan that I think can potentially turn some of these guys into starters. So offensive tackle from Pittsburgh, and then the Christian Jones, is like Austin said, from Texas with my picks there.
Kind of reminds me of like the Jalen Duncan pick too. I remember he was almost like first round caliber athleticism.
Yeah, oh yeah.
People were talking about that, but like it was like some of his like effort, I guess, and maybe like some other like testing issues.
Yeah, because
like,
we've seen
drove
that.
him down the
Bro
board.
had zero effort.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the athleticism is there, so I do like that pick of just taking a flyer on a.
Yeah, I mean Christian Jones is a mauler,
back to me,
quote unquote.
Yeah.
So for my 5th rounder, I actually got a trade offer from the Raiders to trade back 2 spots and pick up another pick in the 6th. So I definitely took that.
Okay.
And for this pick, it's kind of I took a flyer. I took an edge rusher on Xavier Thomas out of Clemson. He's a 6-year player, but 2 of those years got ended to injury, so he kept coming back to try and like show some production on the field. When he was healthy, he was averaging 4.5 sacks at Clemson. Like, and that's not terrible at all. So, I mean, a developmental pass rusher that you take there in the 5th, that was my pick there. And then I actually picked another 6-year player That's my theme with these 2 picks. I picked Josh Proctor, safety from Ohio State.
I like Proctor.
More of a
like him.
thumping safety than like a catching pick safety, but we need that. That's something we've lacked since, honestly, like Kenny Vaccaro. You move Amani Hooker to free safety, you play this guy at strong safety and develop him there. With a strong secondary already, I think you can get away with starting somebody like that.
Yep.
Let him just kind of headhunt a little bit, like come up in the box and make some tackles and stuff like that.
Exactly.
So with my pick number 146 is a guy didn't really know a lot about till recently, but obviously Austin just talked about him earlier. He wished he was there. This guy slid all the way down to 146 for me. I was very surprised. He is Javon Baker, wide receiver out of UCF. This is a guy, I can pull up his stats real quick.
Now, here's a guy.
Yeah, here's a guy, Anyway, he ran a 4.54 40, which isn't the, craziest eye-popping numbers for a receiver. But, me and Austin were, talking about him pre-show. We're watching his tape. Dude is a contested catch guy. He's going up, making plays. Stephen Smith said his player comp was like Brandon Lloyd, if you remember him back on the Broncos. And, he's got a 37-inch vertical, so he can get up there, and a 10-inch broad jump. I mean, physically, the guy is very gifted. But he did start his career at Alabama.
Hold up, you said 10-inch broad jump?
Or my fault.
Yeah, 10
my
foot.
fault.
10 foot.
My fault. 10 foot. 10 foot.
Like, whoa! Like, your buddy barely got off the
Sorry,
ground.
I just was thinking about the vertical, and then I was thinking about that. Yeah, that's a credit card jump right there. But he did start his career at Alabama, switched to UCF, and then last year he was first team All Big 12 Conference, led the team with 52 catches, 1,139 receiving yards, and 7 touchdowns, and he played all 13 games. So he's a guy that's going to stay healthy for the most part. Very highly productive guy, and honestly, like I said, he showed he had 4.54 40. But for the most part, it looked like he has some good breakaway speed. So I liked him there. And then let's see. My next pick at 182, I just took the best corner available that was there at the time. And I don't really know much about him. His name is DeAndre Prince from Ole Miss. From what I was looking at, it was saying that he Tannehill's in here climbing everything. But he said that he was, more of a zone coverage corner, but can obviously, they said he has high potential if he does try to turn into a man corner and more of a press corner. And from all the, top 30 visits that the Titans have had with corners here recently, they've all been pretty press heavy corners and physical guys. So I like that. And there's Nala as well, popping the cut. But yeah, so I took Javon Baker and then DeAndre Prince for my next 2.
Both positions where we definitely need some depth.
Yeah.
Definitely need some depth at those 2 positions, so I definitely would not be opposed to that. But moving into I guess we all no one added a 7th rounder, right? With a trade.
I got 2 more.
I have, I think I got 1 for my trade back.
Yeah.
That might be 6th.
Oh wait,
I
yeah.
also
what was
had
your
a trade.
Oh, okay.
That's why I got 167. But I have 2 more, so we can do the last. This should be the last round of it.
Everybody's got. Jared, you got 2 left too.
Yeah, I got 2 more. Yeah.
Okay, so rolling here into the 7th round. I wanted to go receiver earlier, but kind of didn't go in my favor a little bit. But I actually ended up holding off on receiver to the 7th round, and I actually chose LaDietrich Griffin. He's a wide receiver out of Mississippi State. He's 5'10", 181 pounds, so he could put on a little bit of weight. But he ran a 4.43 40-yard dash. He's mainly a slot guy. He's an amazing down-the-field threat, obviously, with that 4.43 speed. The Titans all offseason have talked about how they wanted to add speed and athleticism to this team. I mean, that dude's literally the definition of speed and athleticism. But here's why I picked him. He is a high kick return threat. And we talked about this last episode about how the new kick return rules are going to force teams to, have somebody back there that can take the ball there. And he's that guy. He was a kick returner at Mississippi State. He has a couple touchdowns returning the ball. He's a literal, like in his overview, it said he is a kickoff threat. So basically you get the ball in his hands on the kick return and he's going to make a play with it, hopefully. So, and he's got amazing open field speed. They pretty much ran a lot of screen passes with them or over the top plays and just kind of get the ball in his hands and let him just run past everybody. So that was my first 7th-round pick. My second one was actually Jalen Simpson, and I hope he falls this far. He's a safety from Auburn. Felt like we needed some depth at the safety position. And he was a second-team All-SEC player in 2023. He's 6 foot, 180, 181 pounds. So he could definitely put on a little bit of weight, but he's mainly an over-the-top guy. Like, he's not coming up into the box. He ran a 4.45 40, so he's really fast. Yeah, literally my notes here, it says not a great run support guy, but he's an amazing athlete with amazing range in the backside. He's got a high IQ for a safety and actually has great like open field like vision of being where he needs to be. So
I like it. I agree. Although safety is definitely a position of need. Depth and potentially starter wise, we don't really know who's gonna be paired up with Hooker consistently. But we'll see. I do think Amani needs to continue to be consistent this year and hopefully stay on the field more than he has since getting his contract. But my last round, the one where I got Christian Jones, that was a traded pick, so I did pick up an extra one. So I have 2 left here. One's at 177 and went with a bit more depth here, but I do like the way this guy plays. From Ohio State, went linebacker here, Tommy Eichenberg. He's somebody that's shown he can be productive, be consistent, and has played, I think, stayed pretty healthy as well, and played 3 or 4 years at Ohio State. So he's seen some talent, been on some good winning teams, and that'd be good depth there. And then for my last pick at 242, I picked up another running back. I like the talent out of Georgia, Daijun Edwards. I think that's a position that you see a lot of teams go later in the draft as a potential. You could see 3 on the roster, on the active roster. I don't see another running back potentially get a whole lot of looks with us having Pollard and Tajay, but I think that would be somebody with some good speed, some good talent out of the SEC that could potentially come in and be depth if we lost one of the other 2 to injury. So Daijun Edwards, my last pick.
He would have to beat out the Julius Chestnut for that running back.
Oh, yeah. The GOAT.
I like Chestnut, too.
Preseason demon Chestnut.
He is.
For my last 2 picks, actually one of them is one of my favorite picks I've made in the draft so far. So I traded back and got this pick at 208. I picked Arizona tight end Tanner McLaughlin. So he was like a kind of do-it-all tight end in the Arizona offense. But in 3 years playing, like starting, he has over 1,100 yards in college football as a tight end.
Pretty
so
solid.
I really like to get that, like almost close to the 7th round there. You're getting a guy that's like a proven receiver, at least at like in college ball.
What's that? That's like 400 yards a year. I mean, statistically.
Yeah. His last year too, he had 550 yards.
Yeah.
And several touchdowns at Arizona. So I mean, bring him in, add some more competition to the tight end room. We need a third guy anyway, so I like that pick. And then my last pick, I didn't really know too much about the people available at this point. It's 242, so you're talking close to the end of the draft.
Yeah.
So I picked up Omar Speets, linebacker from LSU. I just saw the LSU label right there and said he'd be a great special teams player for the Titans.
Oh yeah.
I picked him up right there.
Shout out Racy McNath.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So
coverage demon.
So for my last 2 picks, one of them, have no idea who this guy is. I only picked him because of Brian's comments a couple of days ago in his presser, saying that he would like to have, we only have 3 tight ends on the roster right now, and he would like a lot more than that going into training camp. Just because you have different schemes you can run with guys, and that's a position that, for the most part, kind of gets hurt a lot. So you got to have some depth pieces around there. So I took a tight end out of Utah. His name is Brant Quaith. No idea. He was Dalton Kincaid's backup. For the most part, what I've seen is he's a little undersized, but supposedly is a pretty decent run blocker, which I feel like would kind of benefit our team. And just, like I said, fill that need that Brian wants of having multiple tight ends going into training camp. Now, my last pick at 252 was one that I saw that did recently do a top 30 visit with the Titans. He is a running back, and he comes from Marshall, and his name is Rasheen Ali. I remember I brought that up a couple weeks ago, and Austin was like, "Who?" And honestly, all of us were like that because I had no idea who he was. But I turned on this film, and I was telling Austin earlier, the guy is literally Tajay 2.0. I mean, he's super, kind of smaller back. I have his stats right here. I mean, he's only 5'11", and now, of course, the website doesn't want to load. But run 4.40, so that's pretty good speed
Pretty
coming
quick.
out of the backfield. And on all of his combine stuff and reports and everything, I mean, even you watch the film, you can go look it up. I mean, dude makes cuts on a dime, just the same way that Tajay does. And there's multiple times where he's in the goal line position where he's lowering that head and he's trucking these linebackers, getting into the end zone at only 5'11". So I think, like you said, Kel, we could probably take about 3 at that position, and he's another guy that could be a returner with Tajay. You know, you pair both with these new kickoff rules, you can have two of them on either side. So I think pairing those two together would possibly go good, but who knows? I mean, you can never have enough running backs. So, and I also got at the end, just to round it out, I also got a 6-rounder from that Jets trade for number 7. So,
yeah, I mean, I think that pretty much rounds out all of our selections. I think you kind of notice a trend with all of us, though we may have picked some different players. There was a couple that were similar. You kind of get a good feel for what we want to do at 7. I mean, it seems likely that we will go offense, but in the event that that's not available and we do have to go defense, I think you're probably looking at somebody like Dallas Turner, and I don't think you can go wrong. And then I think what's going to be crucial this year is if you don't get Joe Alt, you obviously get a game wrecker, a playmaker at 7. And then I think you have to figure out a way to get the best value possible at tackle, whether that's 38, whether that's you trade around and end up with something like Drew did and you get 72. You have to find something that can immediately impact the left side of the line because we have to have it. We have to have a left tackle. So mine was probably the riskiest in that way, but it didn't fall the way I wanted to. So, you know, I liked the picks that I had, but I don't want to see our actual draft board end up like that. Like I say, I would love it for it to be Joe Alt. And we kind of all have a similar mindset there, but it's going to be fun. I think we are 10 days from the draft, something like that. So
10 days exactly.
Yeah, so it's going to be fun. It's really soon. It feels like it's taken forever to get here, but I mean, once this is here, it's going to give us so much more to talk about and a lot more to speculate on as far as what we think our offense and defense can do. And I don't know. It's just going to be fun. So I think what we wanted to touch on, maybe Houston do like a record prediction.
I mean, we're pretty much already pretty deep into this one.
Okay.
I'd say we go ahead. We just, you know, when we went a lot longer on this one than we did on the one last week where we, you know, everything failed or whatever. But
yeah.
I think overall we did a good job there. I think we potentially cover the whole AFC South on next week's episode, other than us leading into the draft. That way we can cover everything. And then after the draft, you know, do like a recap episode and see how we did, what we like, what we don't like, and see
maybe some of our picks.
Y'all got any other closing comments?
No, I mean, maybe
you know,
our idea for next week.
Are you saying
maybe some of our picks hit? Maybe some of our picks hit. You never know. So
yep.
I know Austin's just waiting on Dallas Turner to hit.
if we, all I'm going to say is if we draft Dallas Turner, I mean, I'm just going to say I called it. Just saying. But we haven't had a top 30 visit with them, so it's not the most likely. So we'll see.
Yeah, and I don't know how much I don't know the word I'm looking for. Intention, or I can't find the word. It's on the tip of my tongue, but I can't say it. I don't know how much goes into the top 30 visits being the guys that we really want. I can see it being the guys that are definitely like on the board, but you just never know how that's going to fall on draft night and what calls you might be getting regarding trades and all this. I know before the episode we kind of talked about Traylon being a name thrown around, so we just don't know what's going to happen. But you know, that's that's what we're going to be waiting out, and we're going to be able to talk about here in a couple weeks. So I guess next week, like you say, Drew, we could potentially look at all the teams and go into record prediction and things like that. We think what's going to play out as far as looking at their schedules potentially and go from there. But it's been another good episode. I hope that everybody's been enjoying it. Again, like Drew says, if you have any ideas, send them in. I think he's got an email link posted. And then, of course,
put them
follow
in the
us.
comment section below, man.
Comment
Let us know
section.
who you
Mhm.
want us
Yep.
to draft at number 7.
Yes.
Yep.
Why is it
7.
Joe Alt?
Drop a like and subscribe.
Yeah, and why is it Joe Alt? Exactly. So
yeah, what a great
That was a
episode.
good one.
I mean, hit the like button
And the subscribe button. And we'll see you on the next one.
and the subscribe button.
See ya.